On our spotlight, a Supreme Court fishing fee case today. Justices heard arguments over a bid to further limit regulatory powers of federal agencies. At the center of this dispute are two fishing companies and a government-run program to monitor the overfishing of herring off New England's coast. So for decades, fishermen have been required to take federal inspectors on their boats when they go out on the water. But a rule in 2020 requires those fishermen to pay the salaries of those inspectors and bring aboard, adding $700 a day. Now, although the government has since suspended this program, the fishermen, they're saying they don't need to pay the fees right now, but lawyers for the fishermen are asking justices to overturn this 1984 landmark ruling known as the Chevron Doctrine, which essentially directs courts to defer to federal agencies' interpretations of laws that are passed by Congress, so as long as it's reasonable. Now, in Chevron, the Supreme Court reasoned that agencies have specialized expertise and Congress gave them the regulatory authority. Experts say that if the court reverses itself, it will transfer a lot of policy-making power from federal agencies and then give it to federal judges, which then includes the Supreme Court. So I want to bring back our panel here. Mike Mees, John Katko, Alencia Johnson, and joining us is our ABC News legal contributor and law professor at the University of Baltimore, Kim Whaley. So thank you all for being here with us. Kim, let's start here with you. I mean, this is a lot to unpack, and I know you've been following this really closely. So how did this case, first of all, make its way to the Supreme Court? And ultimately, in the most simple terms, what is really at stake?
So these cases are pretty routine. Basically, Congress creates agencies, anything that has the word department of in its title or commission in its title, and it gives them the power to make regulations. And that's been something that conservatives have had problems with for decades. The idea being we don't like regulations, so we'll make it harder for agencies to actually pass them. And so here we've got, as you indicated, a regulation relating not so much to having the monitors on the boats, but the temporary requirement that these fishermen pay that fee to have the monitors on the boats. So they challenged the agency saying, listen, this is outside the power that Congress gave you. And instead of kind of looking at that specific question of that day-to-day payment, the court went right into the bigger issue. That is, should courts defer to agencies when they fill in the blanks left by Congress, or should courts decide? Should courts make policy instead of Congress? And of course, if the court reverses that case, you mentioned Chevron, Congress has only passed a handful of things this year. It's not doing a whole lot. So what's the end result? A lot of deregulation, and it's deregulation happening through unelected judges versus having to deal with thorny elections and bureaucrats and things like that.
Well, and in the meantime, we have real people and real jobs here at stake. Our Devin Dwyer did extensive reporting on this as well, as you're seeing him a lot in this video. John, this case is, again, it's about federal power and regulation. But how much of a difference do you think that these government agencies should have, I mean, when it comes to fishing?
Well, I mean, this may be kind of a wonky discussion, but as a professor pointed out, it's really important. Our founding fathers never could have conceived of federal agencies that are this big and this powerful. And they make economic decisions that can have devastating impacts on economies. So, yeah, it's about deregulation, but yeah, it's really about where is that line between legislating and carrying out the laws that the legislatures promulgate. And that's really complicated in a big modern economy like ours. So there's going to be pushback and ebb and flow, but make no mistake about it. This is a very important case, and if it ends up in making a landmark decision, it's going to have a profound effect on the way agencies interpret rules going forward. So it's a very important case to watch.
Well, and it's important because as you talk about that, how they interpret the cases moving forward, and it's not just about fishing at that point. It's a lot of other things here at stake. So, Alencia, justices, right, are essentially being asked to curb the federal power for all aspects of American life. What's your take?
Well, I want to bring up the fact that we've found there have been a lot of research over the past few years about this Supreme Court and their ability to make decisions that are based on precedent or their political affiliation. And to be honest, majority of the American people don't trust that the Supreme Court will uphold precedents. We actually have seen that in the past couple of years of decisions around Roe v. Wade, around affirmative action. And so an activist Supreme Court taking up this case when two of the justices, Justice Clarence Thomas and Gorsuch, already told you how they feel about the precedent. Now, the other thing that I want to say is that conservatives often cite that the federal government has too much overreach when it comes to the economy, but they don't talk about the fact that these federal agencies are in place to protect our environment, to protect people, to protect the health, which is what it means to strengthen these regulations. And I'm concerned that if this case is decided by these conservative activists, unfortunately, it disempowers our government and it just boosts not only these judges, but corporations.
And Mike, to you, I mean, what about the fishermen, though? I mean, you heard him out there saying, though, Mike, look, our margins are so thin. How could we be asked to pay for this?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this robust conversation, Kana, because this is one of those Supreme Court cases that actually surprisingly keeps me up at night. Totally understanding what you're alluding to with the fishermen. I think there should be a solve in terms of, you know, could the state pool the resources together in order for it to pay for the fees? Should the federal government provide subsidies to offset the cost of having to pay these monitor salaries per year? But I actually enjoy the Chevron deference because for me, I think that it's part of the, quote, equal branches of government that allows the federal agencies in order to put these regulations into effect, and then allows the Supreme Court to look at it from like a legal perspective, but which is why they always do the Chevron deference to it. These issues that some of these agencies are coming up with, Kana, are very scientific when you look at the Department of Energy and we look at Environmental Protection Agency. That's science. A lot of the cases we've been seeing so far coming from the Supreme Court have to do with ideology rooted in race, religion, and identity. Some of this has come down to science, and I think that needs to be regulated to agencies who has career civil service employees versus political appointees that study the science on a daily basis.
Yeah, certainly. We will watch this very closely. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Mike, John, Alencia, and Kim, our thanks to all of you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.